So what's funny to me is, when is violence? When is protest? When is this all acceptable?
But isn't that the same though? Where's the protest against the regime that's killing people in the street right now? I mean, I don't see anybody in Colombia.
Well, they're doing those today, and it's called the ICE protests.
Well, but they talking about Iran at the ICE protest?
No, I think they're talking about the regime that's shooting people in the face. I mean, I think it's a very American idea to not want police forces to be able to shoot Americans indiscriminately. And the idea that J.D. Vance says is that they should have absolute immunity. I thought this guy was a hillbilly. He had a book, Hillbilly Elegy. And I can tell you, hillbilly values, at least from where I'm from in Appalachia, are that the government ought not be able to have absolute immunity when they shoot you in the face. But maybe we came from a different Appalachia.
Okay,
Corbin Trent, co-founder of Justice Democrats, went on Fox News and showed how to rebuke the hosts. He's not alone.
Our president and our beautiful first lady, they went down to El Paso, Texas, and they posed with a baby that the president's rhetoric, Fox News rhetoric, your rhetoric, had helped to orphan. And I think this thing about Trump is making America great again. Trump has made America hate again. And it's this hatred of races. I hear it all the time when I talk to Republicans, and they say, oh, I went down to Texas, and there are all these Mexicans down there, and they're all speaking Spanish. Well, I got news for you. Those weren't Mexicans. Those were the Americans. That guy that went down to El Paso to shoot a bunch of Mexicans, he shot a bunch of Americans. And I'm really tired of this anti-immigrant, anti-people with brown skin rhetoric that's coming out of Fox News, coming out of people like you, and coming out of our president. It's demeaning. It's beneath the office. It's beneath you. You used to be a judge. You know better. It's time that stopped.
Thank you, Carol. We'll get a response.
You know what? I refuse to accept your recitation of the facts. Their plan and their plot to remake America is to bring in the illegals, change the way the voting occurs in this country, give them licenses. They get to vote maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times.
The C-SPAN caller tore into then Fox News host Judge Jeanine Pirro.
In my view, Representative, you gave the ballgame analogy. In my view, what has happened here is you've done something in certain states, and you don't like it when it's done in Republican states. And now you're saying you've done the same thing as us. You've done the same thing as us, and we are going to, by the way, if you do it, we're going to ratchet it up even more, in the words of Gavin Newsom.
My party has never gerrymandered in the middle of the decade at the request of the President of the United States, nor would we. The only way this is going to happen in blue states is if Texas executes this power grab. You mentioned Massachusetts. Right. Do you know the party of the governor that signed that map into law? He was a Republican. It was a Republican governor that signed that map into law. So I just want to be clear with our facts, and I don't want to muddy the waters. All of us, whether we're Democrats, independents, or Republicans, we should stand up to politicians who don't want to face accountability at the ballot box. That's exactly what's happening here. And I asked you, if Republican policies are popular, why do they need to redraw these maps? Why can't they just run on their policies?
I'm getting wrapped.
Will Cain, somehow formerly of ESPN, also got embarrassed by James Tellerico of Texas.
Have you spoken to any people, or can you speak to anybody that's marching right now and ask them what it is that they're marching about?
Pretty clear.
Yeah. Excuse me. You tell us, what are you here marching for?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my ears are ringing a lot, so I don't know if I'll hear perfectly. But, yeah, I'm just here because I think it's absolutely disgusting what ICE is doing here. I think it's absolutely abhorrent that they're kidnapping people. I'm disgusted that they murdered an innocent human being. And, yeah, the entire thing just absolutely abhors me. This has to stop immediately. What we're seeing right now is frankly an ethnic cleansing. It's disgusting.
Hey, Garrett.
And it needs to stop. And I'm glad that there's so many people out here trying to stop this, because it's just abhorrent. We
Garrett,
need to to stop this.
Does he have a concern that the woman was driving her car at an officer? Does it concern this individual?
When you saw this video that is out, did you have any concern that it looked like this woman may have been driving her vehicle at the officer?
That's not what it looked like to me at all. And I mean, like, even if you did assume that was the case, which it absolutely is not, we are supposed to train officers to be responsible in these situations and judge the situation objectively, look at it reasonably. Like, there's just absolutely no justification.
Pause it. I can tell you right now what Sean Hannity is doing. He's saying under his breath or inside his head, God damn it. God damn it. We got the wrong guy in Garrett, you picked the wrong guy.
You can very clearly tell that she is evacuating the scene. There is, like, absolutely no evidence that there's, like, any, like, attempt to drive the vehicle into the officers.
Garrett, last question. What should we do with people that don't obey our laws and come into the country illegally?
What do you think we should do with people that have come into the country illegally who are here, is the question.
I think they have the right to be here, frankly. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think they have the right to be here. I think that's just a basic human right is freedom of movement. We recognize that in the United Nations Charter. That, in my opinion, is just a fundamental human right that all nations ought to recognize. And I'm glad that some people are standing up for that basic human right.
And what's your instrument of choice?
Instrument of choice? I just found a bell in a bag. Someone was handing out free stuff, so there we go.
Incredible stuff here, where Fox tries to incite divisive/false rhetoric and fails. It's been a theme.
Number is down to 22%.
Not the number I just gave.
Well, your number is wrong.
No,
your number is wrong.
Take it up with the National Institutes of Health, all right?
Look,
They're the one that put it out.
I am a council member on the National Institute of Health. Your number is wrong.
Now, I want to clarify, you're a Muslim, so why did you write a book about the founder of Christianity?
Well, to be clear, I am a scholar of religions with 4 degrees, including one in the New Testament and fluency in Biblical Greek, who has been studying the origins of Christianity for 2 decades, who also just happens to be a Muslim. So it's not that I'm just some Muslim writing about Jesus. I am an expert with a PhD in the history of religions. But I have been obsessed with Jesus.
Though, it still begs the question, why would you be interested in the founder of Christianity?
Because it's my job as an academic. I am a professor of religion, including the New Testament.
If asking for an ID is trying to restrict the vote, I mean, I'm sorry. You should be able to prove who you are before you cast a ballot.
No, you should be able to prove who you are when you register to vote. And when you make the proper registration, identify yourself, you shouldn't have to go to some higher level, which is going to restrict some.
Fraud is committed. And I mean, Boston and Chicago, you register and then you show up and it's not you.
I have not seen any study that says fraud is a problem of such significance that these kinds of procedures were in place.
You know, if the moon had erupting volcanoes a few years ago, well, a few million years ago, however you want to put it, you know, it's not like we've been up there burning fossil fuels.
No, volcanoes are not connected to the burning of fossil fuels. They're connected to mining. But the big thing for us, on my side of this thing, is the science is true. And so when you discover, the people who got really involved in climate change got involved in it often by studying Venus, the planet Venus. So the physics, the science that happens on Venus is the same as the science that happens on the Earth. The science that happens on the moon, in this case the geology, the study of rocks that happens on the moon, is the same science that happens on the Earth. So when you say to yourself, well, I'm going to ignore all the evidence of climate change, you're saying, I'm going to ignore the best ideas anybody's ever had.
When you have 4 people dead, including the first U.S. ambassador in more than 30 years, how do you call that hype?
How many security contractors died in Iraq, do you know?
I don't.
No, nobody does, because nobody cared. We know that several hundred died, but there was never an official count done of security contractors dead in Iraq. So when I see this focus on what was essentially a small firefight, I think, number one, I've covered a lot of firefights. It's impossible to figure out what happens in them sometimes. And second, I think that the emphasis on Benghazi has been extremely political, partly because Fox was operating as a wing of the Republican Party.
All right. Tom Ricks, thanks very much for joining us today.
Shout out to OG Kyle here, too. That is a throwback, my friend. Back to Trent.
I got a question for all my fellow Southern guys out here. I'm just curious when we became bootlickers, when we become people that just do as you're told or else, you know. I'm watching this stuff that fell out yesterday in Minnesota, right? Dude leaning over a hood, popping into a windshield, and then popping off 2 more when they drive by. And I see the narrative out there of a lot of my fellow Southern folks, and it don't remind me of my papa, it don't remind me of my granddaddy, don't remind me of any of the stuff I heard from around here that was sort of like, you know, don't tell me what to do, don't tread on me, that kind of stuff. Where did that sentiment go? When do we become a do as we say or else kind of group of people around here? You know, I don't get it. It kind of pisses me off. Makes me a little bit embarrassed. By my southern gents. You know? What about your number 2A? What's that supposed to protect you from? My whole life I've been hearing how this is supposed to, we got these just to protect us from the oppressive regimes. Who do you think's going to be oppressing you in that kind of regime? Anyway, I don't know. You confuse me.
Because the ex-AOC staffer cannot fathom for the life of him how Southerners went in this direction. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.